Okay, so welcome to this webinar. Dear National Focal Points, dear directors of the regional centers, dear colleagues. I would like to welcome you to this third webinar organized in the context of the Small Grants Program, or in short SGP, on plastic waste. So thank you very much for joining us. And of course, I hope that you and your families are all safe and healthy in this current period. I would also like to express our gratitude to the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, which is the donor of the SGP on plastic waste in the context of the BRS2 NOAD project. The objective of this webinar today is primarily we want to give you an opportunity to learn about the second round of projects that have been selected under the SGP on plastic waste. So we hope that you will gain a better understanding of the activities to be implemented in the beneficiary countries and learn more about the characteristics of a successful project with a view to inspiring future activities as well. Moreover, we would like to present important tools for the implementation of these projects, namely the Plastic Waste Inventory Toolkit and the key considerations for the development of national strategies for the environmentally sound management of plastic waste. Both of which are still in draft, but currently being finalized. So today's agenda features 4 main items. First, we will have a brief presentation just to bring you up to speed on where we stand with the SGP, including the results of the first 2 rounds of the selection processes. Next, we will invite each of the regional centers to briefly present the 7 projects that have been selected for implementation under the second round of the SGP. And some of you may have attended our previous webinar, during which we presented the 7 projects selected for the first round. And then after these presentations of the regional centers, we will move on to discuss 2 important tools that I just referred to, that are currently being finalized and which will help a number of the pilot projects help them implement their activities. So with this, I would like now to invite Kay to provide us with a brief overview of where we stand with the SGP on plastic waste. And I think we're particularly curious to hear which 7 projects have been selected under the second round. So Kay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'll try to share my screen. Yep, I guess. Is it working? Yes, I guess so.
Kay, can you speak a bit louder, please?
Yes. Yeah.
Super.
Do you hear? Yeah. Fine.
That's better.
Right. Great. Thank you very much. Yes, I will make an introductory presentation on the small grants program on plastic waste that is being carried out by the BRS Secretariat. As you might have seen already, this small grants program on plastic waste is funded by Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, NORAD. And it has started the selection process since last year. We have the small grants programs are all implemented by regional centers. So that is the main implementing partners. And we have budget of 120,000 for national projects and 180,000 for regional projects. And the project duration has been identified as 1 year because that's matching with the project duration of the NORAD funded activities by the Secretariat. And beginning of last year, these small grant programs was being considered for establishment by the Secretariat. And within that modalities, we have identified the scope of these projects as focusing on control of transboundary movements, TBM, and the environmentally sound management of plastic waste, ESM, and prevention, minimization of plastic waste, and finally, hazardous constituent addressing such as persistent organic pollutants listed under the Stockholm Convention. So the scope of the small grant programs they cover the 3 pillars of the Basel Convention and also the elements that is its synergies with the Stockholm Convention. The beneficiary countries are Basel Convention and Stockholm Convention parties that are developing countries listed in that list of ODA recipients. And we, according to that modalities that was agreed earlier last year, we have conducted the 2 rounds of call for project proposals and 2 meetings of steering committee, and have selected 14 pilot projects until now. So here is the map showing the 7 projects that were selected during the first round of call for proposal. As you can see in this, the blue dots show first round of project proposals, projects that were selected, and the bigger round indicates that this is projects that are considered as regional projects because it covers multiple countries. So we had 2 regional projects, one in Latin America and another one in the Asia Pacific for the first round. And we also had each in the 4 other regions that covered under the regional centers. Then for the second round, 7 additional projects were selected. Those are indicated in green dots. We had 3 more regional projects covering a larger areas within the Asia Pacific that focus on ASEAN region. Another one in southern part of Africa. This is supported by the respective regional center covering those countries. Another regional project is implemented in the Central and Eastern European region. And so with these 3 regional projects, we also have 4 national projects, as indicated here. One in Central Eastern European region, and another one in Arabic sub-region, and another one also from Francophone African region, and finally from South America. So those 7 projects were selected in December last year, and we will be hearing project presentation from those 7 project proposals. And considering the selection of the project proposals and also in implementing the capacity building and technical assistance activities that relates to plastic waste, the Secretariat has been focusing on key elements as shown in this slide. Of course, as if these small grant programs, the projects are all called pilot projects, and they are for pilot testing. That means it is a scaled down version of a change that one can establish in a speedy manner. And these pilot tests will allow countries to assess potential obstacles or needs before it could be integrated into a larger scale change at the nationwide larger scale change. And therefore, these pilot testing would be very important kickstart for addressing plastic waste at the national level. And in doing so, one of the first element you would need is the information. And therefore, plastic waste inventory toolkit that we will be hearing later is expected to bring the information that will allow countries to assess the extent of plastic waste that needs to be addressed. And also, this information will be very important for evaluating the impact of the measures taken or the achievement of the projects. So therefore, that's the first element that we focused as important. Then ESM strategy that we also hear later on would be the strategy to implement environmentally sound management of plastic waste at the national level based on the information collected in the inventory, plastic waste inventory. And ESM covers not just only waste management, but also prevention and minimization, and at the final disposal stage. And this needs to involve all stakeholders, like private sector, informal sector, and general public. The projects also focus on legal and institutional framework. This is very important in strengthening the fundamental aspects at the country level, especially to meet with the Basel Convention requirements, including the amendment that was adopted and came in force from 1st January this year. Finally, awareness and enforcement is very important. So many of the pilot projects that were selected includes awareness and communication elements. Of course, training is the speciality of Basel Convention Regional Center to implement, but awareness and enforcement goes not just only to general public, but also specialized agencies, specialized experts like customs and so on. So targeted training is also considered a very important element of those pilot projects that are being selected and to be implemented under SGP on plastic waste. So thank you very much, and this is it for my introductory presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kay, and beautiful maps that you have created there, very nice. So I would suggest, I mean, we don't have much time and we have a lot of presentations, and we want to give you a lot of opportunity to interact with the regional centers. So in case you have questions on what Kay just presented, maybe we will have time for it at the end of the webinar, or otherwise I would encourage you to simply write us an email or contact us otherwise, and then we can follow up accordingly. So if that is okay, for now, I would like to move on then directly to the presentations of the regional center. After each presentation, there will be an opportunity for questions and answers. As we have limited time, we will only be able to answer a few questions per proposal, maybe 2 or 3. But again, you're of course invited to follow up with us or with the regional centers after the webinar in case you have any further questions. And please allow me to remind the presenters that we have 5 minutes for each presentation. So first, I would like to invite Anton from the BCRC SCRC Indonesia to briefly present the regional project entitled Development of Regional Standard Requirements for Transboundary Movement of Plastic Waste into the ASEAN region and pilot study on optimization of domestic plastic waste utilization. Anton, the floor is yours.
Chair, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for all of you. This time I would like to present our proposal activities on the small grant project on plastic waste. So basically, I will show to all of you our business plan briefly, and also continue with information on the project. So as mandated by the convention secretariat that all of regional centers should provide with the business plan from 2020 up to 2023. So we submit this plan activities to the secretariat, and this activities the plan that we will introduce to all of you will fall under activity number 10. So as at the moment we know that the plastic still become having economic value for all of the countries, especially for the developing countries. And most of more than that, import plastic scrap from developed country to developing country are still ongoing. However, sometimes the imported plastic scrap contains hazardous waste, and it is considered illegal transboundary movement of waste. So that's why we recognize the need to collaborate and work with the relevant Asian working group, which is the Asian Working Group on Chemical and Waste, to develop a regional capability on implementation of the Basel Convention, including the amendment regarding the plastic waste that are already entry into force since the 1st January 2021. So the objective of the project is to ensure that all of ASEAN member states and plastic industry in the region are aware of the implication of the amendment of the Basel Convention on Plastic Waste, of course, and to promote the capacity of ASEAN member states in effective control of transboundary movement of plastic waste to prevent illegal TBM of plastic waste in the Asian region. And part of the regional activities, we also have a study case that will conducted in Indonesia, selected ASEAN member states to promote optimization of domestically generated plastic waste utilization and minimization of TBM on plastic waste. Basically, we will try to implement the guideline of inventory of available inventory that are already provided by the Secretariat, and also to promote partnership to support circular economy in the ASEAN region for recycling of plastic waste in ESM. So we are planning to have activities within a year or more than around 13 months. And as I already mentioned that because we have a limited budget and also time frame, we only conduct the pilot study only in Indonesia. However, actually, we also plan and to also conduct a similar study under the Plastic Waste Partnership, and we also submit several proposals to the Secretariat. This is also to complete the comprehensive picture of this plastic waste issue in the Asian region. And for the development of the regional standard itself, we will coordinate with all of ASEAN member states and to review the existing legal institutional framework, and we compile them, and then we put in one some kind of like comprehensive information, and this can also be as a reference for all of countries in the world, specifically for developed countries that are currently still doing the export of plastic scraps, but sometimes they don't know actually what is national level regulation that are in place, something like that, in the Asian region. So basically, this is our activities, and we will have 2 times face-to-face meeting with the ASEAN member states and also other stakeholders the first time, and then also in final dissemination. So this is our activities. I would glad if there is another comment or question from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anton. That was really interesting, and I think it's excellent that also your project addresses this this region, which has historically been really an important area in combating illegal traffic, in particular, including in plastic waste. So I think this project has a large potential. So if there are any questions, we would now have time for 2 to 3 questions. If you have one, please raise your hand so that we can see who would like to ask a question. Dan, I assume I see it when somebody raises the hand, yeah? Is that correct?
Yes, you should.
Okay, great. So far, I don't see any hands. Do you?
I do not know.
Well, in that case, that saves us some time, which is also great. Okay, so then I think we can move on. One last check. Okay. Okay, thank you very much again, Anton. Sorry? Okay. Thank you. Great. So then we can move on to the next presentation. So now I would like to invite Ruslan from the BCRC Russia to briefly present the national project entitled Improving the Plastic Waste Management System in Kyrgyzstan. Ruslan, the floor is yours.
Hello, good time of the day to everyone. My name is Ruslan Butovsky. I'm director of BCRC Russia, and I'm going to present the project which is called Improving the Plastic Waste Management System in Kyrgyzstan. The project is a national project, so we managed to get $120,000 for the project, and we basically we are two organizations which are going to implement this project. That is us, Basel Convention Regional Center, which is located in Russia, in Moscow, and also the State Agency of Environmental Protection and Forestry of Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan is a country, a mountainous country in Central Asia, and it is located, most of the country is located at the 1,500 meters above the sea level. And also in the middle of the country, there is a big lake, which is called Issyk-Kul, which is called the Pearl of the Central Asia. And it is a very nice area for recreational purposes, and also it's protected area. So it contains a lot of species of animals, birds, plants, and so on and so forth. So the problem is the plastic pollution in this area, and we are going to somehow to contribute to the solution of this problem. The project duration is for 12 months, estimated for 12 months. And we plan to reduce the plastic waste, increase its recycling, improve the plastic waste management system, strengthen interaction among stakeholders, which are several ministries inside the Republic, and also the stakeholders between two countries, Russia and Kyrgyzstan, local authorities, municipalities, and raise awareness of local communities about plastic waste management, etc. This is our plan of activities with actions, and we are ready to start as soon as possible, as long as we get first funds. So the activities will include the review of the current management system legislation, including the collection processes and market mechanisms, examination of the landfills' impact on water and soil in this Issyk-Kul area, development of the national strategy on plastic waste management, development of legislation, because it's obvious that probably some parts of the legislation in Kyrgyzstan should be improved, and the project may contribute to that. Also increase environmental awareness of the local communities on the Basel, Stockholm, and Rotterdam conventions and environmentally sound plastic and solid waste management by the way of conducting a set of roundtable seminars, workshops, and also we plan to train local staff for public awareness on plastic and municipal solid waste management. The project will include the practical activities like the cleaning of the area. So we plan
Okay, we have an issue with Ruslan's connection. I think he must have lost that. Ruslan, can you turn your camera off? It might help your bandwidth.
Sorry?
We lost the last 30 seconds of your presentation.
I don't know what happened. Yes, so the activity number 7 will be the production and installation of the number of containers for plastic waste collection and processing, and the development and printing of information and broad dissemination of this information in the area. This is our contact. So for BCRC Russia, it's me and my deputy, Mr. Pavel Bubnov, who many of you know, and this is for the Agency for Environmental Protection of the Kyrgyzstan Republic, Mr. Terbek Sikiyev and Aygul Turdumatova. So we are in close contact together, and we already had some discussions on how to proceed. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much for this presentation, and also nice to see that to complement these cleanup activities, you also install some infrastructure to make sure that these activities are also sustainable beyond the project duration. So as before, we now have a few moments for some questions, if there are any. So if you have a question, I would like to invite you to please raise your hand. Okay, no hands, it seems.
A hand was just raised by Bird.
Yes. Bernd Ringvold, please. Yes.
Thank you very much. Bernd Ringvold from the Norwegian EPA. It was a very impressive project, I must say, very broad, very comprehensive. For $120,000 US. Do you expect to really achieve results in all these areas, all the way going from legislation and waste strategy down to cleanup activities? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think we will contribute to the improvement of legislation. For instance, we are not going to change the whole legislation system on waste management in Kyrgyzstan. I think we will be more focused on the local activities, on the cleaning up of the area, and on the broad dissemination of the results. And of course, we want to contribute to different other areas. Thank you.
And maybe I can also complement some information in this regard. The BRS Secretariat is also implementing a project on plastic waste in mountainous and remote regions. And it is a global project as such, but it will also support some activities in a pilot country, and that pilot country happens to be also Kyrgyzstan. And the activities are actually well aligned. So in this way, we will have additional resources available to support some of these activities. So the two projects will synergize to produce the maximum possible effect. Are there any further questions? Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay. So I think we can move on. Thank you very much, Ruslan, for your presentation. So then we can move on, and I would like to invite Dana from the BCRC Slovakia to briefly present the regional project entitled Initial Assessment and Capacity Building in order to develop national ESM strategies on plastic waste and to prevent and minimize its generation in selected countries of CEE region. Dana, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to present our regional project proposal, which is initial assessment and capacity building in order to develop national environmental south management strategies on plastic waste and to prevent and minimize its generation in selected countries from our region. This is our first regional project, which is focused directly on plastic waste. And the main aim of the project is to assess the situation from a legislative, institutional, and practical point of view, to assist with capacity building in countries, in selected countries, and to prepare such kind of background or basic basis for preparation of national strategy and policy, and maybe it could later be as a start point for also for regional strategy. Regional center in Slovakia in the project is a project coordinating agency. So it means that our role is to coordinate all selected countries. Our partners in the project we have 6 countries. We have a Ministry of Environments or other environmental institution which were selected by respective ministries of environment in Albania, Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia, Moldova, and North Macedonia. You can see the budget of the project, and the budget is equally distributed among all 6 countries. The project will have 2 levels of coordination. There is a regional coordination, which will be completed by a regional center, and at national level, which will be organized by project manager decided by each country. The main objectives of the project is management of plastic waste in compliance with environmentally sound management principles of Basel Convention procedures in 6 Central and Eastern European countries, to conduct initial assessment and provide support to adjustment of legal and institutional framework to ensure the ESM of plastic waste, and to promote the plastic waste prevention and minimization within national policies and strategy. On next page, I would like to show you our main activities and the timetable. We will start with analysis of current situation in each country on waste management, focus on, of course, on plastic waste from legislative, institutional, and practical point of view. Maybe it is important also to add information that all activities will go parallelly in all countries. So it will be a big challenge also for us as for regional center to coordinate this. The second activity will start a bit later. It will be testing of the Basel Convention plastic waste inventory toolkit. So we are very curious on information which will be done later by Key, because this will be an important tool for our project. Next activity is assessment and support to adjust national legal and institutional framework to ensure the ESM of plastic waste and to prevent and minimize its generation, and elaboration of recommendations which should be for preparation of national strategies. And on the last activity will be organized of regional workshop to promote the project topics and results. Expected project outputs. Expected project outputs is analyzed current situation of waste management on plastic waste in each country, report with identify sources and amounts of plastic waste, and increase data management through testing of Basel Convention plastic waste inventory toolkit, assessment documents including evaluated national legal and institutional framework and relevant recommendations, set of applicable measures and strategies towards plastic waste prevention and minimization, using Basel Convention guidance, regional event to promote the project topics and show the knowledge and experiences. The first idea was to hold the first idea was to hold a regional event. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because I have some other noises. Yes, the first idea was to have a regional workshop with participation of 2 experts from each country, but now we are not so optimistic, so maybe we will decide for online meeting, which allow us to, on the other hand, to invite more people from each country. So we will see whether the pandemic situation allow us to do it physically or online. We are ready for both opportunities or possibilities. And the last but not least, I think it's very important, will be the project fact sheet to raise awareness of the project topics, activities, and outputs and goals, which we hope we will achieve. And this fact sheet will be in national languages, so it will be, the aim is awareness raising in each country. This is all from my side. Thank you for your attention. This is our BCRC team. And maybe only as a final sentence, we expect to have also to recruit one external expert for some specific activities. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was a very interesting presentation, and yeah, good to see always regional approaches, and also happy to see that you will be testing the inventory toolkit. So that is good news. So do we have any questions for Dana? If so, please raise your hand now. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any hands. So, okay, good. So then we can move on. Thank you again. And yeah, we can proceed. So now that we have covered Asia and Europe, we can now move on to the African region. So with this, I would like to invite Sharif from the BCRC Egypt to briefly present the national project entitled EcoBags, the alternative pilot project. Sharif, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jost. First, I would like to first, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity and for accepting or selecting our project for the funding. Simply, this is funding for a project that will be done by BCRC Egypt. As you know, BCRC Egypt is a regional center that covers 22 Arab countries in North Africa and South Asia. Okay, so simply the name of our project is EcoBags, Alternative Pilot Project. EcoBags, our project has got the code of BCRC Egypt 4. Our country, or we are going to implement the project in Jordan. The duration of the project is for 12 months, and the requested budget is about 120,000 American dollars. Okay, so the objective of our project is to reduce and minimize the consumption of and the use of these plastic bags and replace them by reusable eco-friendly bags in Jordan, of course, to raise awareness and educate the community and about the importance and about how to use these reusable bags. Economic boosting for the youth and the women employment, because there are some that are unemployed. I mean, finally, add a positive impact on society regarding the health and economy and social stability, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact it has already on society there. Of course, we are targeting 3 areas of intervention: improving the ESM of plastic waste, preventing and minimizing the generation of plastic waste, and reducing the risk from hazardous constituents such as persistent PUPs, in plastic waste. Our needs in the Arab countries in general, and specifically in Jordan, is the waste management. As I said, the women empowerment by increasing their employment opportunities, and the youth empowerment as well. We'll have 4 phases for our activity. The awareness, we'll start with the awareness, of course, first for the volunteers and for the women who can start to produce these bags with us, and then surveying the local citizens about how, the specifications of these bags and how they need it, and then we start production and launching the production of these bags, and finally we'll do evaluation for the whole project and make some measures to guarantee sustainability for this project. So the outcomes that we are seeking in this project is, of course, as I said, the sustainability specific, and of course we are working on the city of Amman, which is the capital of Jordan. We are working on Jordan, so our target is to guarantee sustainability of this project after we finish the 1-year project we are going to conduct in Amman, is to sustain this project, to continue to carry on its work after our project is done. Second thing is to expand this work, or this project as a pilot project, or this model, to the other cities of Jordan, sorry, especially after we already managed to bridge or to make the bridge between three main stakeholders, or maybe even more, four stakeholders in this, let's say, relationship: the consumers, the local citizens, the producers, or the ATDAs that were going to produce the bags, the private sector represented by the companies and the markets and the stores, and the public sector, which is represented by the environmental ministry and the municipality of Amman. The final thing is the replicability, because we are targeting to have this model as a model that can be replicated in other Arab countries. Of course, we are going to communicate this project, or the outcomes or the outputs of this project, to the other Arab countries, to our focal point, national focal points in the 22 Arab countries, and we are trying to, I will try to do the same, to apply this project in the other 22 Arab countries. This is, of course, this is our contact, and I would like to thank you all for your time, and I hope I wasn't speaking that fast, and thank you, Jost.
Thank you very much indeed. You spoke fast, but not too fast, and that means you were within the limited time, so that was excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And yeah, great to see also the gender aspect, women empowerment, and bringing youth in. I think it looks like a really exciting project. So do we have any questions for Sharif? I already see two hands. Okay. The first hand I saw was Zaigam Abbas. Zaigam, please feel free to take the floor. Zaigam, would you like to ask your question?
Thank you, Mr. Jost and Dr. Sharif, for this presentation. My question is, what is the definition of eco bags? What is this bag is made of? What product, whether it is cotton, it is jute, or something else? Can they elaborate the definition of eco bags? My question to Sharif. Thank you.
Okay, so the definition of eco bags are bags that are eco-friendly. Basically, we are focusing, we're going to focus on the bags that are made of linen, to make sure that they are usable, they can be washed and reused again. They won't have any problems like the plastic bags. Plus, this will give, I mean, this is one very important point for us. This will give a big opportunity for employment for the women and the youth there.
Okay. Thank you. So it's mean this is made of cotton?
Yes. Linen.
Okay. Linen. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was actually also a question in our chat, so I believe that has now been answered. And then I had Jewel sent. Jewel, please.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues, and thank you, and thank you for the presentation, Sharif. I just want to flag that we are also executing a similar project for the government of Suriname, and it deals with the replacement of these bags as well. So I just want to reach out to you that we can collaborate, so we can learn from each other's experiences as well as we go along in this journey. Thank you very much.
Hi, Joe. Of course, it will be my pleasure. I put my email at the beginning of the first slide. If you can send, or at least you can send me your email at the chat, and I will copy it, and then we can communicate and see how we can cooperate. It will be definitely our pleasure. Actually, we are ready to proceed with our project as soon as we get the funding. So we will be very happy to coordinate or to communicate with you and start to see how the cooperation can start. This would be great, of course. Thanks.
Great. So this webinar has already facilitated the first partnership. Excellent. And let's take one last question before we move on. We have Laureanos Les Flores, please. Would you like to take the floor?
Yes, good day to all. I just want a little explanation on the economic boosting for the youth. What does that imply?
This is a question for me. I couldn't hear if it's for me. I couldn't hear. I'm sorry. Yes, did you hear the question? I didn't hear it.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. I am asking to explain what is meant by economic boosting for the youth under your project.
Okay. Okay.
What activities will they be involved in?
Okay. Okay, I hardly heard, so I will try to answer as much as I heard. I think the question was how the project will boost the economically for the youth, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So simply one main pillar of the project is counting on youth, the volunteers who are going to do the awareness campaigns, and we do like a surveying between the people or the citizen, local citizen. We'll go through, we'll go with the supermarkets. So all the let's say all the on the ground activities will be conducted by the youth, and they all volunteered. So we have, I mean, fresh graduates in Jordan or Amman, and some young people who have no opportunity for employment. We'll give them this opportunity, and in this case, after the project is done, and this is one of our target, is to carry on or to continue with the project, or with, let's say, with the skeleton, let's say, the management skeleton of the project after the project is done. So we are going to organize, already organized with the authorities there, the official authorities there, that these people, the volunteers who are going to be volunteered or be recruited for this work, and also the women who are going to be trained on producing the bags and so on, will be the skeleton or the backbone for this project to sustain. And then local or national administration, national management will be recruited then after we finish, and the project will be sustained on this. So the youth there will have opportunity for employment, the women will have opportunity for employment, plus the management will be national at that level, but just after the project is over, of course. Did I made myself clear, or?
Yeah, I think it was very clear. And in case we can always discuss further after, also bilaterally. Now we would like to move on, as we're running a little bit behind time. And we just quickly noting that we also received a question in the chat asking, how is this project related to TBM of plastic waste? And on that, I would just wanted to note that actually each of the projects can fall under one or several of the relevant subject areas of the SGP. And these are the transboundary movement, the ESM of plastic waste, prevention and minimization, or hazardous constituents. So it is not necessary for each project to also address TBM of plastic waste, just to clarify that. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. So now I would like to move on and invite Joseph from the BCRC SCRC South Africa to briefly present the regional project entitled Developing a Regional Strategy towards the ESM and Control TBM of Plastic Waste in the SADC region. Joseph, the floor is yours, and if you could be short, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jost. What actually motivated the project is the fact that the SADC region has not undertaken significant coordinated action for addressing plastic waste. And also the region, the region itself does not have a harmonized data set or a regional strategy for the ESM and control of TBM of plastic waste. And the collective resultant of this is that, you know, in the region we have a haphazard, uncoordinated, and therefore highly ineffective approaches to the ESM and controlled TBM of plastic waste. And of course, these are some of the gaps that the project intends addressing. The project will be implemented in 5 countries in the SADC region, those being Lesotho, Namibia, Malawi, Tanzania, and Zambia. It's a 12-month project with a budget of about 177. Of course, we following the comments that we received, we've taken another look at the budget, and it might be slightly lower than it currently is. The objectives of the project, firstly, to strengthen the ESM and controlled TBM of plastic waste. And we, of course, hoping, envisaging that the project itself will result in the improved national and regional level information and data, comprehensive and coordinated communication and planning, and targeted training, capacity building, and awareness raising. There is post the project itself, there has to be sustainability in terms of the ESM and controlled TBM of plastic waste. And of course, also the project aims to build on the results of the BRS NORAD 1 project and test key Basel Convention guide, including the draft updated technical guidelines on the ESM of plastic waste and the practical guidance on the development of inventories for plastic waste. The project will have 4 activities. The first one being to assess the national and regional legal and institutional framework related to the ESM and control TBM of plastic waste. Now, we will also develop national and regional first generation inventories of plastic waste. Now, based on the outcome of the first 2 activities, we'll then be in a position to then develop a regional strategy, which will be focusing on capacitating the countries for the ESM and control of TBM of plastic waste. We've also planned as one of the activities to undertake communication training and awareness following the strategy, to popularize the strategy and further inform participating countries and beyond of the outcome of the strategy, its focus, and the outcome of the inventories as we would have undertaken them. The expected outcomes of the project, firstly, we want to effect increased information and knowledge among decision makers regarding the national and regional situations of the control of TBM and the environmentally sound management of plastic waste. But most importantly, we also want to make sure that we strengthen the stakeholders' capacity to undertake the ESM of plastic waste and effectively coordinate the transboundary movement of plastic waste at the regional level. Yes, that's in brief my presentation about the project, and thank you so much.
Great. That was brief indeed. Thank you very much. And yeah, it seems like you really addressed a clear gap there in terms of the lacking communication, cooperation in this regard. So I wish you all the best of success in addressing this gap. Are there any questions for Joseph? Currently, I see no hands. Which is good news, because then we can move on to the next project. Thank you very much, Joseph. Okay, so
just Hossein Shabazz from BCRC Iran.
Okay, we have a hand. Hossein, please go ahead. The floor is yours. And now there's also another one coming. Oh. Hossein Shabazz, can you take the floor?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bit interrupted.
So
but
a question to when he's talking regional, that regional program is separate. I mean, these 5 countries.
Hossein, unfortunately.
Hossein, your voice is chopping off. We can't hear you.
Hossein, would you like to write your message in the chat, because we were not able to understand your question? In the chat, yeah, that would be great, because we could not understand your question, unfortunately. The connection was not good enough. Great.
Okay, I'm writing.
Then in the meantime, we can take Andrea Lopez. Please, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Joseph for this presentation. I would like to know to involve the customs in this project and how. Thank you.
Do I plan to involve, I missed that part, to involve the what, Just if you can help?
The custom authorities.
Oh, yes, well, reference to stakeholders definitely included the custom officers, and their involvement will also include not only outreach, but also the training. Part of the training will be targeted at capacitating the customs officials. So a short answer is yes, definitely they're part of the stakeholder community will be targeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, and in case to the other question, we can come back when it's in the chat. So with that, I would then like to move on to the next project. And I would like to invite Soufiane Boukari from the BCRC SERC Senegal to briefly present the national project entitled Plastic Waste Recovery and Awareness in Niger. Mr. Boukari, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. You heard me?
Yes, very well.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity for us to present our project that is main plastic waste recovery and awareness in Niger. So, we'll see the next. As the project, I'm sorry for my English, because we are in a French country. I'm Francophone, so I will try to do my better to speak perfectly or correctly English. So the project will be implemented in Niger. Niger is a west country in Africa. So the main objective is to fighting the proliferation of plastic waste in Niger, because some survey demonstrate that Niger there is a lack of recovery waste. So I think that this project will be the first one of the first project that will be a pilot, a guidance to see how to fight the proliferation of plastic waste in Niger. And the sub-objective is raising awareness of population on the danger associated with the proliferation of plastic waste, and is to implement a recovery mechanism of plastic bags or bottle or hard plastic in granular and other plastic product. And the third is to promoting the use of granule and as a raw material for the other country, because we have in Niger we have near countries like Nigeria, like Ivory Coast, that country have a lot of a big industry, more than Niger. So the plastic that we are going to recover in Niger will be transformed in raw material for that industry. And the activity of the project is the first is the population awareness raising. That means we are going to communication on the. We are going to make what I can say a communication system around the kiosk. We are going to set up 10 kiosks in the city, and we are going to make communication also on the land field, and we are going to use a social media communication for the awareness and brochure and the television, and we are going to make a big communication to see how population they can use plastic better, and they can use recycling plastic, and how it's going to do the recycling system, the recovery system will put a small industry, a small unit that will transform those plastic in granular. So this is the presentation of our project. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, it's great to see such a practical project that really can make a difference on the ground. Thank you very much for this presentation. So with that, very briefly, because we don't have much time, are there any questions at this stage? Any brief questions? I don't think yes, I see a hand. Okay, Dadan Hasanuddin, and please be brief. Thank you.
Thank you, Jos. Thank you, Sofiani, for your presentation. Would you please further explain with the 10 plastic waste recovery kiosks in the city of Niamey?
Yes.
Is it full recovery or just collection?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's just for recovering. It's just for collection. So what is the project will be? So the plastic kiosk that we are going to set up in the city will be a point where citizens or other people, they can bring, because there are some people who cannot go to the landfill. So we just put the kiosk and people come to there to collect. And after collecting, we are going to collect again those plastics waste to the industry unit.
So there will be one production or recycling workshop or installation.
So they will not be, we will not recycling to the kiosk. Just after taking them, we will transform them to the granular, the plastic, some plastic granular and other bags.
Yes, I mean outside the 10 kiosks, there will be one production facility or recycling facility. Thank you very much, Sofiani, and also Joost.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. Great, so then we can move on. For our final project, I believe, we are pleased to move to the Latin American region. And I would like to invite Leila from the BCRC Argentina to briefly present the project entitled Improving the ESM of Plastic Waste and Preventing and Minimizing the Generation of Plastic Waste through the Certification of Plastic Recycling Industries in Argentina. So Leila, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joost. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to thank you for the Secretariat and for the Agency of Development of Northern. And the title of the project is Improving the ESM of Plastic Waste and Preventing and Minimizing the Generation of Plastic Waste through the Certification of Plastic Recycling Industry. A very long title. The country of project implementation is Argentina, but we expect to try to adapt for the vision and to exchange this protocol with the other countries. The implementation agency is our center, Basel Convention Regional Center for Sustainability. The duration is 12 months, and the budget, because it's a national project, is $83,200. So the general objective is offer an endorsement or recognition to the plastic recycling industry that act according to the highest standards, guarantee suppliers and buyers that recyclable plastic delivered to a certified industry will be recycled in accordance with the best available technology and best practices, and in compliance with environmental legislation and regulation. Increased national capacity of auditors is a very important thing for our region, to have experts on auditors through training workshops that we expect that participate our region and other regions, promote the use of recycled material, increase the number of certificate industry in Argentina, analyze and foster the replication of the model, as I say, after in other countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. I put this. Okay. What happened in general? 1, 2, 3. I don't know what happened. I think that it happens with this. Yes. Main activities of the project is revision and adjustment of the protocol. The protocol is made with the chamber of the recycling industry and with also people of the plastic industry. So this is for thanks. And I have to always thank the team. The team is composed by Plastic Center of Inti, Ricardo Jimenez, Mariana Moyo, Mariela Sperazzi, Cristina Innocenti, the consultant, the external consultant, Ana Maria Corallo, the Core Plus, José Luis Picone, and the certification organism by Carolina Alarcón. So I think that the project is important also for the region and also for the industry of the recycling material, and can help for also have the regulation of the amendment of plastic waste in the Basel Convention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leila. And indeed, very interesting approach to look at the certification of the recycling industry. Given the limited time, I think we can take one question, and I see Zaigam Abbas has been the fastest again. So Zaigam, please share your question. Zaigam, you need to unmute your mic, maybe?
Thank you, Jost and Laila, for presentation. My question is, what type of certificate for the industry? Whether it certified regarding the plastic, green industry, plastic, what type of certification? Can you explain it? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it's the green industry recycled plastic, as you said.
Thank you, Leila.
Great. That was short and sweet. Excellent. Okay, great. So I would really like to thank all of the regional centers for providing these presentations. It's been a pleasure to listen. And in particular, the diversity of the projects is also very interesting to see, that you're taking different approaches, even though we're all working towards the same aim. So that's very inspiring. So thank you once again. So now we would move on to the next agenda item. Namely, we will hear more about the tools, or 2 specific tools that are being developed under the BRS NORAD 1 project. And I would now like to invite Melissa, my colleague, to give a brief introduction, which will then be followed by 2 presentations. Melissa?
Jost, I prefer to give a presentation at the beginning of each of the presentations. So if we start with the inventory, if Archana could share her screen, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so you would like the presentation to already start?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Archana, if you could If you could have your presentation on the screen.
So shall I share my screen? Is that?
As you wish.
Oh yeah,
Otherwise,
I've got that.
yeah.
I've got the. Thank you. So if you can just confirm that you can see the presentation.
Yeah, but we see it in the presenters mode.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, great. Good afternoon and good evening to everybody. My name is.
I'm sorry. There's just like a box on the slides. I don't know what this box is.
Oh, yeah. Is that better?
Yeah, this is great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Once again, good afternoon and good evening to everybody. My name is Archana Pisharodi and I work with Resource Futures. We have been working with the Basel Secretariat and other global experts on developing the toolkits for the National Plastic Waste Inventory as well as the ESM. So my colleague David Lepeni is also joining us and will be presenting the next presentation. So very quickly, moving on. So today I'll start with a bit of context to the project and how this project was developed with the BRS Secretariat, and then give a brief idea about what a national plastic waste inventory is, what it's intending to do, and then very quickly take you through the structure of the toolkit that has been developed. So as this has been already discussed, this was part of a wider NORAD-funded project called Marine Litter Microplastics, promoting the environmentally sound management of plastic waste and achieving the prevention and minimization of generation of plastic waste. So this was part of BRS's technical assistance program. And the intention is that the methodology presented will be integrated into the guidance that BRS develops. The purpose of the
Archana, can I add a few words here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, please.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry, Melissa, go for it.
Yes, yes. In terms of the context, I see there's a lot of interest in of course, in doing inventory, and I would like to emphasize that, as you all know, all this work is being done in the context of the Basel Convention, so we should not forget the framework of the work. And in terms of how the Basel Convention sees inventory, its place in the implementation of the convention, there is a parallel work going on that's mandated by the conferences of the parties, because there's the recognition that developing an inventory is very important. And so there is a guidance document being developed under the by the Secretariat, which will integrate the methodology that will now be presented by Archana. And as she will explain to you later, there are a number of ways of doing an inventory. And all this now, what she will present is just one of the few approaches. In implementing your projects in your countries, it's important to keep this in mind and to be flexible in applying the methodology and in trying to find what will work in the context of your countries and what will meet the objectives of the projects. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and we do hope that feedback that we will get from the SGP projects will help improve the guidance that is being developed under the Basel Convention, and that as regional centers, you will then be of course, it will be your job to go on and implement more widely in your regions to countries that need your assistance. So I just wanted to highlight this, and Archana will explain also in the next slide what is the purpose of doing a national inventory as understood under the Basel Convention. Thank you, Archana. The floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Melissa. And sorry, I totally missed your introduction there. So just to continue from there, the purpose of the inventory, as Melissa said, was part of the wider work, and it is a precursor to the ESM strategy. So it is an enabling condition because it provides the data and the necessary information that could guide the process of developing the strategy for ESM for the country. And secondly, it also fulfills the Party to Basel Convention, their national reporting requirements, because again, the data provides ongoing support for all the data points that the national reporting regime might require. So what is a national plastic inventory? It's really, it shows us how much plastic waste there is in the system. In this case, the system is the country, and what kind of flows the plastic waste goes through. So it is really a tool that enables tracking of plastic waste from the source to its endpoint and everything in between. So where all it's generated from, what are the pathways it takes, and who are the actors who are involved in managing plastic wastes. Obviously, the types and quantities of plastic waste in these flows, and very importantly, the leakages of plastic waste into the environment. So at what points does it escape into the environment, and to what extent as well? And all this helps guide the decision-making process the country will have to do to improve their plastic waste management systems. So as Melissa said, there are a number of methodologies out there that quantify plastic waste. And at the beginning of the study, we undertook a scoping exercise to look at as many approaches as we could find, those that were established and those that were also developing at that time. So you can almost group this into two overall approaches. One is the product lifetime approach, which looks at trade data, production data, and how the use life cycle of the material to then estimate how much plastic waste might be generated at the end. And then there is a material flow analysis, which is a detailed analysis of the flows and pathways of plastic waste, where it starts, how it flows, and where it ends up. So some of the examples of the studies that we looked at are on the screen. And as Melissa said, we have also developed a methodology which can fit in with all these methodologies, and it depends on the specific requirements and what kind of data gaps that need to be filled. And then on the basis of that, methodology for quantification can be approached. So the inventory that we have developed, I'll briefly explain the structure and the steps to the inventory. So very quickly, this what we see on the screen is the whole plastic value chain. And you can start quantifying plastic waste at any point in this flow. You can go back all the way back into raw materials or start at waste generation. So just to be clear, the inventory that has been developed starts at waste generation. So we're excluding anything that relates to reuse, because that's sending plastic products back into use phase. So our inventory fits in within the red box on the screen and starts at waste generation and follows the steps thereafter. Another important point is that the scope of the inventory is specifically post-consumer plastic waste, which fits within the municipal sector. And this is really because it's one of the most common fractions of plastic waste and serves as a source of the greatest risk of mismanagement of plastic waste. So this is generally a typical starting point for assessing plastic waste issues. And also we're looking at macroplastics and not microplastics. They're both significant, but have different approaches when quantification is concerned. The National Plastic Waste Inventory has two parts to it. And before I move on, I should also add that while we were talking about the various approaches, another feature of this inventory is also that it's a first generation inventory. It allows the country, it is a starting point for a country to start looking at data and then grow from there. So you can have future generations of inventory which have more detail and more accuracy as each cycle of inventory goes. So the structure is in two parts. There is a methodology document and a calculation template, which is MS Excel based. So the methodology document is a user guide. It provides the context, the logic of the methodology, as well as the steps that are then used on the MS Excel workbook, which provides the data collection pro forma, where data entry will be made, and then the calculations are also conducted. We have the methodology that has been developed is based on the material flow analysis. So the flow that you can see is a generic flow. It tries to capture as much detail within the plastic waste flow in most countries, and it can be applicable in most countries. So as you can see, there are the 4 boxes for generation, collection, sorting, disposal describe the major steps within a plastic waste management system. The black arrows are the flows of plastic waste, and the blue arrows are the leakages, as I was talking earlier. So this is quite important because at each of these stages, the way the material is handled can describe how much leakage of plastic waste occurs. And that then advises you about how much plastic waste is mismanaged in the system, which is at the bottom of the box over here. So all of these together are broken down into the various actors and the flows that plastic waste might take within the system. And then, of course, we've covered imports and exports because they are part of the net plastic quantities in the country. And finally, you can look at the fate of plastic waste. So how much plastic goes to disposal, recycling, or otherwise. A key consideration for developing a national level study for plastic waste quantification is that there are variations in the country, and to capture those variations, whether that is in the level of generation of waste or how it's managed, which varies in cities and rural areas, etc. It's important to divide the country into subdivisions or representative regions where the individual study, the quantification exercise can happen, and then that can be scaled to the national level. So that is why we have archetypes to manage those representative regions. And the archetypes used in the inventory are of 3 types. Metropolitan areas, as the name suggests, are the areas with high population density, high level of economic activity, and a similar kind of demographics. So they are likely to represent a similar style of plastic waste management. And then we move to the areas with slightly less population density and different level of economic activity, all the way down to the 3rd archetype, which is small towns and rural areas. Again, it will be low economic activity and the least population density. So all of these factors are likely to influence plastic waste generation and management. So there are 4 steps within the inventory methodology. And all of these 4 steps, as you can see in the screenshot here below, this is from the Excel spreadsheet. These 4 steps are conducted for each archetype, and therefore they're repeated for each archetype. And that is then scaled to form the national picture. So the steps are, you start with baseline data collection. And this is likely to be the most resource intensive step of the 4 steps. This is where all the baseline data is collected. Then there is a step to estimate the quantity of leakage, which I will detail in the next few slides. And then the calculations happen on a separate spreadsheet, and the outputs are generated in a later one. So as I said, the outputs of individual archetypes will then be collated to form the national summary. So baseline data can be collected in many different ways. Obviously, the most preferable way to collect that is primary data. So field studies and interviews, surveys give you real-time data about plastic waste on the ground. We've pointed to the UN SDG indicator methodology 11.6.1, which looks at municipal solid waste and the proportions that are managed in controlled facilities out of the whole. But as it said, you can't always have primary data collection. It depends on resources and time available. So it will be important to look at official records, other studies that may have been conducted, and sometimes expert judgment and estimations will also be needed where there are data gaps. And as you go through more and more cycles of inventory, these data gaps will start filling up. So in the green boxes here, we can see the major categories of data points that will be required. And these will be for each archetype, as I had explained earlier. So obviously, you'll need things like population, the rate of generation of MSW, import and export data. But I've also highlighted some words here in bold, which are to emphasize that in the initial stages, a lot of the data is likely to come from formal services and formal actors, because they are likely to have historical records or continue making records. So that's going to be the port of call for a lot of data points. However, as I said, sometimes where field studies can be conducted, you can have data, more robust data on the informal sector as well. And some data points here also look at the amount of waste that is picked, the waste picking activity that the informal sector might do at disposal sites, as well as how much is rejected at the formal and informal sorting facilities. So you can organize a data exercise which will produce estimations for this as well. Once baseline data is collected, a part of it will also include understanding leakages, because the second step looks at identifying leakage factors. That is, you will try to find the practices that actors use at each stage. So for instance, during collection, how is the waste contained? Is it in bins or is it loose? Is it in bags? And how is it loaded onto the vehicle? What kind of vehicles are used? All of these are likely to influence the extent of leakage. And so this step allows the user to assign certain potentials, which are numerical values, which then allow the calculation of percentage leakage factors, which will be used to calculate the blue flows we had seen earlier. So that's quite an important part of the baseline data collection in understanding exactly how plastic waste is managed and handled by the actors. So moving to step 3, the baseline data and leakage steps are where data entry will be required. In the calculation spreadsheet, there are inbuilt formulae that allow the flows to be calculated once the first two steps are done. However, each formulae and the logic for those formulae are provided there so that the user understands the logic behind the steps and why these flows have been calculated the way they have. So outputs are generated for all the flows for each archetype. And then using those flows, the user can then play around with the data to generate the output that they require. But there are 3 major categories of outputs that are evident from the flows. One is, you'll be able to see how much plastic waste is collected in the whole. So how much of the generation is collected and therefore how much is not is uncollected. Within the collected stream, it's easy to see how much might go through the formal routes versus the informal routes. And as I said, this is important information because it can guide the decision-making process in strengthening both routes and making sure that the informal sectors are well integrated into the system and their share of plastic waste collection is also captured in the total picture. Within mismanaged plastic waste, as I said, uncollected plastic waste data is available. The leakages will also inform any additional plastic escaping the system and therefore becoming part of the total mismanaged waste. And finally, out of all the plastic waste that is managed, how much gets recycled, incinerated, and disposed. And depending on the level of data and accuracy of data, it could also be possible to then decide how much is going through controlled facilities versus uncontrolled facilities. So for instance, in disposal sites, if there are engineered landfills, how much is going there versus how much of plastic waste ends up at open dump sites, for instance. So this is a very quick tour of the inventory and the steps involved. And I'll open the floor to questions now.
Thank you very much, Achana. If it's, there's some microphone that needs to be muted, I think. Okay. If it's okay with you, Archana, and also with Melissa and David, I would suggest that we move right away forward with the next presentation, because we actually already reached our time. Fortunately, we did anticipate this, and we do have a buffer. We could stay on the platform another maximum half an hour, which I don't think will be necessary. But yeah, so I would suggest we continue with the next presentation from David.
Sure, yeah.
And then
can I just have a small request to send this presentation to us by email, please?
Yeah, we will check with the for each of the presentation. We will check with the people who presented whether it's okay to share it with the participants.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. And yeah, so I would invite David to continue with his presentation, and then afterwards we can take questions on both of the presentations at once for those participants who are still able to stay with us. Thank you very much. So David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jost, and hello everyone. I'm David Lepinier from the research consultancy organisation Resource Futures. In fact, I think what I will do is given the interest of time, pass immediately to Melissa to say a few words if you want to, Melissa, and then I'll pick up from there.
Melissa, are you there?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. So I would like to give some context for the work that will be presented by David further on. As you all know, environmentally sound management is a core concept of the Basel Convention. So you will, this is, and the whole point of all the work that you are going to be doing for the projects is eventually to help countries achieve that. What it means is, of course, different for each country. But the Basel Convention has developed a number of guidance and continuously works on providing guidance to countries on what that could mean. So, as you all know, and many of you were members of this expert group, there was an expert group working on developing a common understanding of what ESM means for the Basel Convention, and the work that David will be presenting is inspired from this work. Also, at a more technical level, the Basel Convention continuously works and updates technical guidelines on specific aspects of waste management. And there is currently a guideline on plastic waste management, the ESM of plastic waste, that is being developed with a lot of interest from parties and industry. And with the aim of presenting this for adoption by the COP. So what is presented here is not meant to substitute, but instead to supplement what is being developed by the COP. So on that note, I'll pass the ball to David for him to showcase his the key considerations for ESM of plastic waste. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Melissa. I will keep this pretty brief because I'm conscious that firstly, the Secretariat, I'm sure, will share more information on the detail of this and you can digest that in due course. I'm also conscious that for some of you, I may be what's standing between you and getting some rest, getting to bed, or getting on with your day's work, depending on where in the world you're listening from. So I'm going to skip to really talking about generally what's this framework for ESM for plastic waste that we've generated, and then I'll talk about the two key parts of that framework. So firstly, really the aim behind this framework is to really help navigate the different actions and initiatives and things that you would want to do to try and tackle the issue of plastic pollution. And in my mind, that's really tackling these things that you can see on the slide there. It's tackling terrestrial and aquatic pollution. It's tackling the impacts caused by burning of plastics in the open, which we're really beginning to understand now, and also the resource loss. So really the aim behind this framework is to really bring some sense to what is actually quite a complex and multifaceted issue. As I'm sure you all know, waste management is quite a challenging thing to get working effectively. So achieving ESM for plastic waste requires lots of different things to be considered. Developing a strategy to do that effectively means you need to think about lots of different dimensions. This framework is intended to try and help structure that in a logical and rational way. So there are two key parts to this framework. There is a series of cross-cutting elements, and then, if you like, a menu of measures. Now, just talking about the cross-cutting elements to start with, we've identified 4 cross-cutting elements that are basically essential to achieve ESM for plastic waste. The first of those is you know, the legal framework, the policies, the regulatory framework, the institutions, and also the supporting standards that are necessary to achieve ESM. So the considerations in that context include things like, are institutions in present? Are their responsibilities clearly defined? Are policies evidence-based? Is there an effective regulatory framework in place that identifies plastic waste as an issue within the context of waste management? And also things like enforcement capacity. The second element is about sustainable financing. Now, as I'm sure you all know, waste management costs money. Even in the greatest situation, the revenues from selling recyclable plastics are unlikely to support sustainable financing and operation of waste management systems. So that's a fundamental element that has to be in place as well, to make sure that there's a sustainable stream of funding to support capital and operational expenditure on waste management. The third element is technical. So that, to me, is about technologies, so making sure that the right technologies for the context are being used to manage plastic waste. And secondly, to make sure the technical capacity is there, so that the people with the right knowledge and expertise are present to keep that system operating in a sustainable way. The fourth cross-cutting element, and almost the most important one that underpins all of the others, is stakeholders. You know, everybody has an interest in waste management, but it's really critical to have an effective ESM strategy that you consider all key stakeholders, engage with them, develop appropriate programs to raise awareness and engage with all of those stakeholders effectively. So moving swiftly on, I mentioned that there were 2 parts. The first part for the framework is those cross-cutting elements. The second part is about all the measures and initiatives and activities that could be taken to try and achieve ESM for plastic waste. Now, we've organised them in this framework along the lines, broadly speaking, of the product life cycle. So if you like, we have a menu of these different activities that could be implemented, and we've organised them in terms of the production phase, the consumption phase for plastic products, their generation as waste and the ways in which they're collected and transported for treatment, and then recycling, energy recovery, and disposal. And for each of those stages, there are a whole bunch of different measures that could be applied. So your strategy may form one or more of these, and it's really interesting to hear about the exciting projects that are being developed under the SGP to implement many of these different things. So for example, one measure that could be applied at the production stage as part of an ESM strategy is to phase out specific product types like disposable carrier bags. And that's quite a common mechanism that has been used in many jurisdictions to try and tackle plastic pollution issues. Then moving on, there are other mechanisms, all sorts of the other parts of the life cycle that could be applied, such as improving awareness of issues amongst the public so that people do not dump and burn their wastes and causing the impacts, or changing purchasing choices. At the waste collection stage, it focuses on the more tangible activities in terms of developing source segregation for plastics. Perhaps some measures might include ramping up recycling capacity for particular types of plastic. And then the framework moves on through these different stages of the life cycle and identifies potential measures that could be applied at each one. So just to recap, it's really this document is intended as a framework to help navigate what is quite a complicated subject. To identify, it identifies 4 cross-cutting elements that are necessary for achieving ESM for plastic waste, and then it presents a menu of, if you like, policy measures and other activities that could be implemented to try and achieve the effective and safe management of plastic waste. I'll stop there. Thanks very much for your time.
Great, thank you so much. That was really very focused, and I think we really captured the key points that you wanted to make. So thank you very much for this excellent presentation. So, of course, we are already ahead of, not ahead, but behind time. But for those, and I see most of our participants are actually still there, we still have time to take questions, and I already see a hand. So why don't we start with some questions? Patrick Umuhosa, please take the floor.
Thank you so much. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Patrick, and I'm from Rwanda, representing the National Focal Point of Basel Conventions, who is not here for some reasons. So, but for us, we had chance to develop the project. So my question will be general, not specific to any presentation. So we discussed as a team who just developed our project proposal, and we've been informed that our project was too ambitious. Last time we tried to minimize some activities, and at the second chance we also been informed that the project is also too ambitious. But depending on the step that we have been on, just fighting against single-use plastics, just accommodating some best practices that are just taking us to the other level. Just we tried to go through and just basing on some other selected projects. Just would like to know whether we can be given some other chance, and we have just like 3 days or 4 days. Then we address just the comments basing on the selected project. So I don't know whether we'll be having such chance. That is my question.
Right, thank you very much for that question. So if I understood correctly, you applied twice. With which regional center was that?
Dakar, is it Dakar or Senegal?
Senegal. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I remember. Okay. Well, I would need to look again at the specific project to refresh my memory.
Maybe Joost, if I could, yes,
Please go
yeah. So I think your project is Rwanda, right?
Yes.
Yes. So indeed, I mean, and thank you very much for raising this. We did have many projects that were quite good and close to selection. But of course, we do have a limit in the funding within NORAD. However, we are looking for additional funding availability. And if we could make further, call for project proposal or already within the submitted projects, and with the revision that are taken into account based on our comments, we are looking at further opportunities and possibilities as you were requesting. And we also consider commitment by countries very important. And you, as a Patrick, focal point of the country, very committed to this project. And therefore, yes, indeed, regional centers are the implementing partner, but the government's commitment in this implementation of all the pilot projects are quite important, and we highly value your inputs. So thank you for continuing your interest, and we will look into further opportunities for availability of funding. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for the further clarification, Kay. Then we have Zaigam Abbas again.
Yeah, thank you, presenter Patrick, David, and other. My question is similar to the Patrick, as clarified by Ms. Key. So we have just to wait the availability of funds. Then the project of regional center from Iran, we have submitted Pakistan as the inventory of plastic waste. So I think Biski has already clarified. So then we shall proceed as per inventory toolkit and ESM guidance. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that remark, Zaigam. I think that was not a question, right? Unless I missed the question, but I think it was just a statement. So then I think we can move on to Bernd Ringvold.
Thank you very much. Just a brief question. These two tools that you presented in the inventory toolkit and the ESM guidance, when will those be ready? Maybe I missed something there, but if you could clarify that. Thank you very much.
Melissa, would you like to give an update on the status?
Yes, thank you, Joost. And thanks for the question. The tools are near finalization. We're putting some final touches on them. So within the next month or two, hopefully. But as mentioned, of course, you know, especially with the inventory approach, this is an ongoing process, and we do hope that these projects and will help make the toolkit better in the long run.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, Melissa. We then have Sherif. Sherif, please go ahead.
Thank you, Joost, and thank you for Melissa and for everybody who gave the presentations. I just have a question about the funding itself. I mean, starting from today, what will be the process when the funding is expected to be to come to the centers? How things will happen? I mean, this
right
administration stuff.
Yeah.
So we can know when we are going to plan to kick off our project and so on. Thanks.
Right, yeah. So in principle, the process is such that the first step is to finalize the project document based on the recommendations that have been provided on the selected projects, right? So there was still a number of recommendations to further improve it. With those recommendations and this further improved project document in parallel, then we would initiate the development of the SSFA, which is the agreement that will fund the funds that are necessary for the project implementation to the respective regional center. This SSFA has to go certain clearances, including financial and legal clearance. This is a step that may take some time at some moment. So currently we are still waiting for these clearances for the SSFAs that have been submitted under the first round. So to be realistic, you may expect a certain delay in having the SSFAs also for the second round processed. We will do our best to speed up the process, and we will also talk to our admin to get a good understanding of what their estimation is in terms of when they think they can process the SSFAs, and then we're happy to come back to you with a more realistic and detailed guideline. I hope that works for you.
But at the moment there is no even estimated time frame for anything yet.
Well, I mean, the initial plan was that we would start the implementation of the first round of the project early this year, but so far we have not yet managed to put the necessary SSFAs in place. But we hope to be able to start within the next 1 or 2 months on these SSFAs. And then the second round would be then the next priority right thereafter. But yeah, it's difficult to give you a precise deadline now. But as I said, I'm happy to consult with the relevant colleagues, and then I'm happy to come back to you to provide a bit more detail so that you can do your planning accordingly. I hope that helps.
And when is the expected date for the opening for the third call?
It is not confirmed if we will have a third round. That depends if funding is available. Currently, we only had the 2 rounds, and currently we do not have funding for a third round.
Okay. Thank you, Master.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think I don't see any other questions, but maybe there was something in the chat. Okay, I see that Dan has kindly advised me that it might be useful for participants to know that the presentations may be circulated, subject, of course, to the presenters agreeing to that. So that should help in reviewing the content that was presented today. Great, okay. So let's have a last look if there's any further questions. Mehdi Sameni has raised a hand, please.
Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, first, thank you so much for giving this opportunity to BCRCs. And my question about the PWP. Is there any news, any finalized project for PWP? And also, we are waiting for the third round for the SGP as well. If possible, you know, we want to do improve in the SGP2. Yes. Okay, you say it's still not decided round 3, but if any opportunity, yes, we are waiting. What my question is, there any results or no? Thank you.
Yeah, so regarding the third round of the SGP, as just noted, as of now, we do not plan for it in the sense that we do not have funding for it, but the situation could, of course, change in the future. Regarding the PWP, luckily we have Melissa with us, so maybe she's best suited to give you a quick update where we stand on the projects.
Yes, thank you, Joost. We have announced 2 weeks ago that 23 projects were selected by the steering group of the Plastic Waste Partnerships, and implementation of these projects should start shortly. And as for the SGP, pending further a decision by the working group of the partnership and availability of funding, there is likely to be further funding in the future for additional projects. And then, of course, countries can, or proponents can send in their projects if they were not selected, and with improvements. Thank you.
Melissa, is there a second round for the PWP?
Eventually, but I cannot tell you when that will be right now.
Okay. Great. I see one last hand from Kitan. But I think his microphone doesn't work, right? Dan has informed me. Yeah. So Dan informed me he was asking if we could have the initial draft toolkit to work with. So I guess that question goes to you, Melissa.
I'm sure, but the toolkit will be released shortly. So yeah, it's about ready. We're just putting some final touches.
Great. Excellent. Okay. I don't see any further hands. Okay, great. So yeah, that was a very engaging and interesting webinar. I really hope that it helped you learn more about the selected projects under the SGP on plastic waste. And I hope that it also gave you very important insights on the plastic waste inventory toolkit, as well as on the ESM considerations, which you may use in your projects. And so with that, we're coming to the end of our webinar, and I hope it has been very insightful. I would like to thank once again all of you for your participation, and in particular to the presenters also. And yes, with that, I wish you all a very nice weekend, and we hope to see you soon, if possible, face-to-face. So a nice weekend to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Congratulations for everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you. Bye, Jost. Dan.
Bye-bye. It was good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, see you again. Lisa, also Dan, and Phil.
I think you changed your haircut.
Bye bye, Dadan.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye. See you.
Mustafa.
Bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Bye, Dadan. Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm
See you.
fine. How about you?
Yeah.
Good.
Nice to see you.
Nice to talk to you.
Likewise. Hi, Anton.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Everything, I hope, going well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm going to get into the next webinar, so I'll leave you.
Yes, yes. Okay,
Bye.
no problem. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.